History remembers kings, queens, and battles. But hidden in its shadows are the devices that turned justice into terror. From cages where bodies rotted in the sun, to iron collars that stole your final breath. These weren't secret crimes, they were perfectly legal punishments. Tonight we open the pages of humanity's darkest chapters and reveal the torture devices that law once called justice. Number 1. The Coffin Cage. Public death on display. Imagine dying, but your body doesn't get to rest. Instead, it hangs for days rotting in the sun, all legally approved. The coffin cage, also known as the gibbet, was a metal cage shaped like a human body. Criminals or accused traitors were locked inside and hung in public squares or along roadsides. Victims could die from exposure, thirst, or starvation while being eaten alive by crows and insects. Even after death, their bodies were left to rot as a warning to others. This was a fully legal punishment across medieval Europe and colonial America. It was less about justice and more about turning human suffering into a public billboard of fear. Number 2. The Strapado, the silent shoulder killer. No blood, no knives, just a rope and gravity, and the slow destruction of your shoulders. The Strapado was a favorite of inquisitors and royal courts. Victims had their hands tied behind their back, then were hoisted by a rope until their shoulders dislocated. Sometimes weights were added to the feet for extra tearing. It rarely killed instantly, but left the victim permanently crippled or unconscious from pain. This wasn't a back alley punishment. It was legal torture even used in papal courts during the Renaissance. The body heals from cuts, but the memory of hanging from your own arms. That pain was the real confession extractor. Number 3. The Crocodile Shears, royal execution for betrayal. Some executions were quick, but if you betrayed a king, he might want you to feel every second. Crocodile shears were iron pincers shaped like a crocodile's mouth, often heated red hot. They were used exclusively on men, usually for treason or attempted regicide. The device would clamp onto the genitals, then rip them away in one horrific motion. This wasn't done in secret. Royal courts sometimes invited witnesses as a warning. Shockingly, this was not considered a crime. It was royal law in action. It wasn't just punishment. It was theatrical terror, ensuring that loyalty to the crown was burned into memory literally. Number 4. The Pillory. Humiliation as a weapon. No blood, no blades. Just your head and hands locked in wood while the whole town decides what to do with you. The pillory was a wooden frame with holes for the head and hands used across Europe and colonial America. While it might seem mild, it was actually legalized public torture passers-by could throw rotten food stones or human waste. Victims often suffered sunburn bruises, infections, and broken teeth. The goal wasn't to kill. It was to break your dignity in front of everyone you knew. For crimes like blasphemy, theft, or gossip, this was considered a perfectly legal punishment. The pain faded, but the humiliation lasted forever, proof that society didn't always need blood to be cruel. Number 5. The boot, crushing legs for confessions. Your legs go in, the screws tighten, and soon your bones are dust, all according to the law. The boot was a device designed to crush the lower legs and feet of a prisoner. Made of iron or wood, it used wedges or screws to splinter the bone slowly. Popular in Scotland, France, and Spain, it was a court-approved method to extract confessions. Victims often fainted or went into shock before giving in. Even if they survived, they would never walk again. A living reminder of justice served, the boot didn't just break bones. It broke the will to resist leaving the law with its confession, and the victim with nothing but pain. Number 6. The cat's paw, skinning alive. One scratch at a time. It looks like a claw, and in the wrong hands, it could peel you like an orange. Also called the cat's paw or flesh rake, this iron tool had sharp curved claws. Executioners would drag it across the skin, tearing flesh from the bone. Sometimes the victim was strapped to a wall or post and the clawing would continue until tendons and muscles were exposed. It was legally used on thieves, traitors, and women accused of witchcraft. Some victims died from blood loss. Others were executed afterward to finish justice. Every scratch was a message from the law: obey, or be shredded in public. Number 7. The wheel of water. Drowning without a drop. No knives, no fire, just water and time. Enough to make the strongest mind beg for death. Known as water torture or the water wheel, this device strapped victims to a board tilted over a barrel of water. They were repeatedly dunked or left with water dripping on the face, simulating drowning or creating extreme panic. Though it rarely killed immediately, it caused psychological breakdown, hallucinations, and trauma. Used in parts of Europe and Asia, it was fully legal for extracting confessions. This method would later inspire modern waterboarding, proving that legal torture evolved but never truly disappeared. It was the law weaponizing fear of the most basic human need: air. Number 8. The iron collar, legal suffocation. No fire, no blood, just a collar of iron, slowly turning every breath into agony. The iron collar was a metal ring locked around a prisoner's neck, often with sharp edges or spikes pressing into the skin. Victims were chained to walls or posts, forced to stand upright for hours or days. Over time, exhaustion made their bodies sag, causing the collar to cut or choke them. Used in France and Spain, this punishment was legally recognized for thieves and repeat offenders. Many died of strangulation or infection before ever being released. It wasn't a swift execution. It was a legal slow death, one breath at a time. Number 9. The lead sprinkler, death in liquid form. It looked like a holy tool, but instead of blessing you, it burned straight through your flesh. The lead sprinkler resembled a small holy water sprinkler, but it was filled with boiling oil, lead, or tar. Executioners would drip the molten liquid onto the victim's body, often starting on the face, armpits, or open wounds. It caused instant, excruciating burns, but could be controlled to prolong suffering. Popular during the Inquisition, it was fully legal as an interrogation method for heretics. Survivors were often disfigured for life if infection didn't kill them first. Faith and fear mixed in molten metal. A blessing from hell delivered by law. Number 10. The Crocodile Tube, death by slow suffocation. No screams, just the sound of breathing getting tighter. And tighter until it stops. The Crocodile Tube was a small coffin-like iron cylinder, barely large enough for a crouched human body. Victims were locked inside, leaving them immobilized and gasping in darkness. Some tubes had spikes on the inside, forcing the victim to stay perfectly still or risk stabbing themselves. Exposure, thirst, and lack of air turned hours into a legal death sentence. It was used in parts of Asia and Europe to punish spies, thieves, or political prisoners. It was the perfect silent execution. No blood, no mess. Just a slow legal disappearance. Number 11. The branding iron, justice. That left a scar. You might escape the prison, but the law made sure the world would never forget your crime. The branding iron was heated until glowing red, then pressed onto the skin to leave a permanent mark. Used to identify criminals and slaves, it was a fully legal punishment across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Letters or symbols were burned into the face, hands, or shoulders, announcing the person's crime to society. Pain, infection, and scarring were unavoidable, but the shame lasted a lifetime. Branding was considered a merciful alternative to execution. Yet it was legal torture disguised as justice. It didn't just punish the flesh. It burned a life sentence onto the skin in the name of the law. Number 12. The whipping post. Law in every strike. No iron, no spikes, just a wooden post, and the law letting your skin be torn off in public. The whipping post was a simple but devastating legal punishment used across Europe and colonial America. Criminals were tied to a wooden post in a public square and whipped until skin tore and bled. Some sessions lasted dozens of lashes, often leading to infection or permanent scarring. The spectacle was intentional. The law wanted fear to spread through the crowd. While survivors could walk away, they carried lifelong reminders of public humiliation and pain. Every lash wasn't just punishment. It was a message from the law carved into flesh. These devices are gone, but the pain they caused still lingers in history. They remind us how easily law can turn into cruelty. If this glimpse into humanity's darker side chilled you, remember what was once legal can always return from the shadows.